Hello, this is Ling Hung from Hanoi, and you're watching Daily Beats, brought to you by VTV International. Here come the headlines. Vietnam's first exchange-traded fund proved an effective tool for investors thanks to its low risk and high transparency. Russian inspectors examined 6 Vietnamese seafood firms. North-south flight path through the airspace of Laos and Cambodia will be operational next June. We'll start with some updates on the stock exchange. After the trading session of Tuesday, both bourses of the Vietnamese stock exchange closed with the same colors that they have since Monday. On the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange, VN Index advanced 11.31 points to finish at 600.55 points. Top stock of these boards were also on the rise as the VN30 Index gained 5.72 points to stop at 633.81 points. Over 87.1 million shares were traded on these boards at the total value of over $83.5 million. On the Hanoi Stock Exchange, the HNX Index retreated 0.28 points to close at 87 points. Nearly $29.5 million was spent at these northern boards to trade over 45.6 million shares. Unless the companies saw their stock prices go up, as the upcoming index gained 1.61 points to close at 124.51 points. Now time for a check on the list of the biggest gainers and losers of the day. Vietnam's very first exchange-traded fund, the VFM VN30, was recently listed on Hanoi Stock Exchange under the E1VFVN30 code. Almost 2 months after initial listing, this exchange-traded fund, or ETF, has proved an effective tool for investors thanks to its low risk and high transparency. In our next story, we'll review markets' response to this new financial tool.
Owning one certificate of E1VFVN30 means an investor now holds 30 stocks on the VN30 index. By diversifying the investment portfolio, the ETF helps investors reduce possible risk. This fund's net asset value is listed on a day-by-day basis, which ensures its transparency. Instead of doing research on various different stocks, investors can now passively follow the 30 top companies with the highest market cap and liquidity in VN30 index.
I think the ETF has many advantages compared with the open-ended fund. We can easily track trading net assets values. Investors who want to limit their risk can choose this tool.
The fund management firms provide transparent information on company performance, indexes, even technical information like price per earnings ratios or PE.
For foreign investors, this domestic ETF enables them to indirectly increase their exposure to stocks in the Thai VN30 index. This means the market can now attract more foreign investment.
Foreign ownership, the ETF itself, then it will give foreigners access to stocks that they haven't been able to buy very easily. So FPT, Ho Chi Minh City Securities, Vinamilk and so on. So I think it's more interesting. I think it's more interesting than the offshore ETFs.
However, according to the other investors, this ETF is still lacks appeal due to its rather small size compared with the market's capacity. The first initial offering only generated 200 million Vietnam dongs, or $10 million. During the first 10 trading sessions, only 250 certificates were traded, accounting for 1.1% of the market certificates. The low trading volume was attributed to individual investors still needing more time to become familiar with the new tool and a great amount of investment already poured into open-ended funds.
Moving on with other news, the 8th session of the 13th National Assembly opened in Hanoi this morning when deputies met to discuss important socio-economic issues as Vietnam is about to enter the final year of this 5-year development plan. In the session, National Assembly deputies will hear the government's report on the economic situation and the use of the state budget this year. Prime Minister Nguyen Tân Dũng has stated in this session that the economy is not recovering as fast as expected as there are still complicated developments at a global scale. However, the government also guaranteed a growth rate of 5.8% this year. Now, the National Assembly working on the revised law on special consumption tax on Monday afternoon. The government is proposing that the tax rate on cigarettes be raised to 75% and tax rate on alcohol be raised to 65% until 2019. These tax rates will be raised slowly over several years until they reach their targets. This move is aimed to reduce the use of tobacco and alcohol while raising more money for the state budget. Now, the Ministry of Industry and Trade recently issued a document that regulates the procedure time for enterprises applying for power supply. According to this new regulation, the total time for firms to be provided with electricity will be reduced to 36 days from the current level of 110 to 132 days. Right after firms apply, local departments of industry and trade have the responsibility to reply with detailed information on power supply within 5 days. The World Bank currently ranks Vietnam at the 156th place in 189 nations on the speed of providing power for enterprises. According to Nielsen Vietnam's latest report on Vietnam's retail market could possibly generate $100 billion in revenue by 2016. Vietnam is listed among the top 10 most attractive retail markets along with Hong Kong and Singapore. It's estimated that the market will rake in $80 billion this year, and the target of $100 billion in 2016 is very likely to be achieved. Traditional markets, however, still account for 78% of trading volume. However, convenience stores are gaining in pace and expected to secure a bigger market share in the coming time. The Russian Federal Service for Veterinary and Phytosanitary Surveillance this Monday started inspecting 6 Vietnamese seafood enterprises that are expected to export their products to Russia. According to the Vietnam National Agroforestry Fisheries Quality Assurance Department, Russian inspectors will carry out their examination until October 30th.
Earlier this year, the FSPPS website mentioned some of the products that had microbial contamination and residues of pharmacological drugs following Russian laboratory checks of fish products imported from Vietnam last December. Seafood products from Vietnam were then banned. In September, Russia lifted the ban on seafood exported by 10 Vietnamese companies after examining the aquaculture and processing activities. Currently, 41 seafood enterprises expect to export their products to Russia. Vietnam exported $103.3 million worth of seafood products to Russia in 2013.
Daily Beast will now continue with the updates on the foreign exchange rates. According to head of the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam, the straight north-south flight path through the airspace of Laos and Cambodia will be operational next June. How will this route be completed? Our next story will give you more details.
According to the plan, a one-way test flight from Ho Chi Minh City will be part of a safety and flight management test. In second phase, a return flight route would be operational in 2016, and passengers can choose either new straight path or the current route with the same fee.
We should discuss with the two other countries to clinch the flight cost. I think we should make a joint agreement on this issue and give priorities for each other to work for long term.
Currently, there are 3 spots at the Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia borders being named and submitted to the International Civil Aviation Organization. The straight flight path would cut across the international and domestic air routes of regional countries, so the countries will name the intersections belonging to their airspace and ensure that the names are not duplicated.
We should have particular plans before putting the new flight route into use, so that we would not be passive when it is launched in reality.
The Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam is also required to work with other countries which also have flight routes cutting across Vietnam's straight flight routes such as China and Thailand to create clear airspace for the new path.
Now, Minister of Transport Đinh La Thăng and Finnish Minister of Economic Affairs Jan Vapaavuori signed a bilateral agreement on air transport between the two countries on October 20th in Hanoi. The agreement comprises 26 articles and an appendix on a number of regulations, including transport rights, appointed airlines and aircraft, fees, equal competition rules, and air security safety. Once the agreement is implemented, it will not only create favorable conditions for the assigned airlines to take advantage of the respective aviation markets and third-party markets, but also promote cooperation in economics, trade, tourism, and cultural exchanges in the near future. The State Bank of Vietnam approved the addition of 19 projects to a pilot program that offers preferential loans for agricultural development. The beneficiaries of the soft loans are 19 projects from 16 cities and provinces nationwide. The projects will receive $90.42 million at preferential interest rates of 7% per year for short-term loans, 10% for medium-term loans, and 10.5% for long-term loans. Short-term loans will be given to farmers to buy fertilizer, seedlings and poultry and livestock breeds, as well as agricultural equipment. The medium and long-term loans will support investments in infrastructure and equipment to develop high-tech models. The loans aim to forge financial connectivity between businesses and farmers for new farming models, such as large-scale rice farms and application of advanced technology. That piece of news wraps up our Daily Beats today. Thank you very much for being with us. Feel free to log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for other updates. And for now, goodbye from Hanoi.